Winter. Time for ice fishing, snowmobiles, and maybe a little pond hockey. Winter's full of fun and games. Until a pipe freezes and bursts. Get ahead of the freezing weather with Mow and Flow. It monitors your home's water and shuts it off automatically before it can burst your winter plans. Moen.
You're listening to 101 Part-Time Jobs with me, Giles Bidder. This is the podcast that's dedicated to bringing you stories from independent musicians. Looking forward to Independent Venue Week, we spoke with Prima Queen and Opus Kink at Dingwalls. Next week, it's Independent Venue Week in collaboration with Beavertown, and they're taking it on tour. They got shows in Bristol, Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, London and Glasgow. Different bands playing every night. They're all ace. To pick up your tickets, head to beavertownbrewery.co.uk and get involved. We're going to be there in Bristol, Manchester and Leeds. I'm so excited to see all the bands. And in preparation, I sat down with Prima Queens Kristin and Louise and Angus from Opus Kink to tell us about what independent venues mean to them and their experiences there. So here they are. It's Prima Queen followed by Opus Kink on this Independent Venue Week in collaboration with Beavertown special here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. 101 Part-Time Jobs.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot about why people play music, why we do this podcast, why anyone does a creative project. And I feel like we all have to have that thing, that sort of kernel of an idea that made you really excited as a teenager. You know, whether it's skateboarding or whether it's like a sport, whether it's drawing, and like harnessing that feeling of like, yeah, this is sick. Like, it doesn't matter about anything else around. It doesn't matter about like how you set it up or the pragmatics of it. We have to do this thing. Do you have that in Prima Queen?
Yeah, for sure. That's like literally why we do it. I feel like we met like quite young and we were like, we got to do this thing, and now we're doing those things
as well, especially with the independent venues. Like, I feel playing these ones where it's like where you would go to gigs at them as a child. I mean, more for me because obviously Kristin grew up in America, but I'll be like, this is a big one, like this is a big deal. And trying to, when you do these kind of milestones, think like, how would I have felt when I was 15 and going to a gig there or something?
Totally. Because you go to those gigs when you're a teenager and you think, this is wild. This is like a whole nother world.
How do you get on there?
How do you do it? So how do you do it?
Well, just asking, like, and then just being there over and over again. Like, literally never saying no. I feel like that was a lot of years for us of like, we don't know how to get in this door, but we're just going to keep banging on it until they let us in.
I remember that with the windmill when we first played there. Yeah. We tried to play there for so long. We were like, we want to play there. That's the coolest venue. And then when we finally got to do a gig there, it was like, yes.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And you realise it by being a punter, you're as much of a part of it as the promoter, as the people working at the venue, as the band. Yeah. It's an ecosystem. You all need each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it was so crazy, because you try to ask people, how do you do it? Like, how do you get from step 1 to step 2 to step 3? And it really is just showing up again and again. And it's like, once you can get in the door of that first venue, then you meet all the people that work there, and then they ask you again. It really is that grassroots, which is like amazing in this kind of time. And even just going on tours now, like meeting new fans and at bigger venues with bigger bands, it still feels like it is just that putting that time in and just being there.
Yeah.
And you can take that mindset of independent music, that independent value, though, that independent mindset, you can take that everywhere with you.
Yeah.
In the way you communicate. Like you say, it's about people.
Yeah, we were saying, like when you go on tour, for the first day of the tour, it always feels like the first day of school. And it's like you're starting a new job on every tour you go to.
Yeah.
And everyone's like kind of wearing the same clothes. And you're like, what does everyone do here?
What is everyone's name?
Yeah.
You can figure this out.
So who are the most memorable characters?
Oh, we actually, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I mean characters
On a
from
tour, is that what you're gonna
on a
say?
tour, maybe
Yeah.
it was like someone who worked at the venue. Maybe it was the door person at the venue.
Well,
the
we
sound
play this
person.
game when we're on, like, like a driving game. We play this game in the van where you do, who am I? 21 questions.
20 questions,
There'll be
yeah.
like a character that we've met at a venue.
On the tour. So it's like, because there's a lot of people on the tour. So it's
Yeah,
like,
and a lot of
I'm
characters.
thinking of
And they're
a
always
person.
nice. You're never taking the piss, right?
Yeah. No, never.
Always
No,
polite.
never. Yeah, it's very
It's
kind.
usually the people that we're like really excited about. Like
Yeah.
we're like kind of
Yeah.
giddy, like, oh, we get to see that person today.
And then you get back in the van and you're like, I talked to them. I
Yeah.
finally talked to them.
It's like, what's
I
the
love this
scoop?
about
What's the
them.
scoop?
We're all kind of like children at heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's still kind of nervous. You meet people, because I guess the thing about people in bands is that you're physically and spiritually looking up to them. Maybe not spiritually, but you look up to people in the band.
Sometimes.
And so when you meet someone, you're like, oh, you're a human being with emotions, with persons. You have good days, you have bad days.
With a part-time job as well.
With part-time jobs. And you've worked at independent venues, Louise.
Yeah. I worked at Matchstick Pie House for a long time, and I related to what you were saying about it, like sort of being an ecosystem. And it's like everyone who works there is usually in a band or an artist, and then they'll play there, and people sort of working together and collaborating. It's like, yeah, it's a nice thing to be a part of.
And do you take what you learned there into Prima Queen?
Yeah, for sure. Being on the bar and seeing a different gig every night and being like, oh, I really liked when they talked here, or I thought the way that they came on was good. Yeah. And maybe seeing gigs of bands that you wouldn't necessarily go out of your way to see, but then kind of seeing what makes a good show, even if it isn't the kind of music you would listen to.
That's a good way for someone wanting to get into music or wanting to be more around music, whether if you're an artist or you want to be a promoter or you just want to be around it, but you're not sure exactly what you want to do, go work at a venue.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You're coming up to this Independent Venue Week show in Birmingham as part of the Beavertown tour. You're playing at Sunflower Lounge.
Yeah.
Do you know that place?
We love that venue.
Yeah,
we
we
played
played
there
there.
before, like last year, maybe the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice because it sort of feels like it shouldn't be where it is. It's on like that kind of classic British high street, a bit grey. And it's like, here it is. Here's like this hub of music.
Yeah.
That's cool. Imagine, anyone can relate to growing up in a small British town. Most people can relate. Growing up in a small British town, and
Not
it's
Kristin.
like, this is the place. This is the
Yeah,
place
yeah.
where we can come and hang out on a Friday night.
And it's like always like down in a dungeon.
It's always
You know what
underneath the
Like it
ground.
feels like a secret.
But then
Like a
when
nice
we
secret.
when we were in Birmingham, we played there a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking to some teenagers, and they were saying, "Oh, when are you coming back?" It was actually an unindependent venue we were playing at, and then we were like, "We'll be back in January at this venue," and they hadn't even heard of it.
Okay.
So we said, "Get to know."
Yeah, do get to know, because
Yeah.
you don't know
Get to
until
know.
someone tells you.
Yeah,
That's the kind of thing. It is about communication and being
Yeah.
like, hey, come to that gig. I remember when I was 13 at school and someone came up to me who I kept on seeing him in detention. And I think that's why he thought I was cool. And he had me this flyer for this gig, and it was Enter Shikari or Gallows or one of those bands from Watford. And like from that weekend onwards, life was changed. It was like, who are these people? I want this to be my life.
Yeah, it like opens up worlds.
yeah.
Your own world. I don't know. Yeah,
Big time.
it's cool.
Looking towards the future, how far ahead can you even plan? I mean, I imagine you're sort of planning tomorrow, and you're always like, okay, what are we doing
This
next?
afternoon.
What are the kind of challenges that independent artists face when trying to plan the next record, the next tour? How you're trying to sort of set up the next year.
So it's like, what do we prioritize? Do we prioritize like pushing this record, or like starting the next record, or writing, or like you only have so many hours in the day, and I think, and then you have to make hours to like make money. So it's like how to kind of, what is the best strategy to spend your time, I guess.
Your project managers.
Yeah, that's another hat. You have
And
to
it is
wear.
kind of like, that's work. That's like real tangible work.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference that you're spending that time and like those long hours, you're doing it because you want to, and you're making something that you can share first of all with each other and with the audience, with the fans.
Yeah, it's funny as well because obviously having to take time off work to do band stuff, and then it's quite tangible when you think, okay, so this is how many hours I would work at my job and then going to do this other thing which you wouldn't get paid for necessarily, but you love it. But then it's weird when it has a price on it, like the day's work.
Your hourly rate.
And I bet you'll work on Prima Queen stuff up until like midnight.
Well, we're early risers.
Okay. What time do you set your alarms for?
It depends.
Yeah, well, before Christmas I was getting up at 7, but January is a bit
Pretty
hard.
early.
Yeah, it's not like that.
It's the same for me.
It's great to talk about independent bands and artists. I don't think there was many places talking about this when I was growing up, or like up until recently. I don't think there was so much focus on finding out how artists work and finding out what it means to be a fan. Because I think as a fan, you have a job as well. Like you said, Kristin, to show up. I think it's the same for folks coming to the gig.
Yeah.
You said that the other day, that since touring, you changed the way that you are at a gig.
Oh
That was
yeah,
nice.
yeah, definitely. I cheer so much louder now because I'm like, and I make like nice faces. It's like, we can see you.
Yeah, why
Like, do you think
have
I'm
you got
gonna
that
play
face
better
on?
if you're looking really grumpy? Like, no, like smile at me, please. Like,
Yeah, it's the
this
least
is-
you could do.
And like I know, like I feel better when there's like people are cheering really loud, and it's like, okay, I'll give more. Like, this is more fun. So it's like, I'm gonna cheer because I want a good show. You know.
Don't cross your arms.
Yeah.
You know, keep your arms unfolded.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
smile.
How do you react to someone who's giving you a stink face?
Well, you look away and you try and just carry on
When
what
you're
you're
on
doing.
stage, when you're playing.
Yeah, it's hard. I think sometimes I guess when you're in a different mood, you can be more sensitive to thinking of what the audience is thinking, but it's best to just not think about that and think maybe they had a bad day.
Yep.
Maybe like it's not about me.
Yeah. My baseline is just like eyes overhead, and then sometimes if I venture down, I'm like, oh no, back up.
Yeah, but you said before that you look at their foreheads.
Yeah.
So I try to do that, but then I just see their eyes.
Oh yeah, no, it's just like this bit. No, yeah, just like a general.
Yeah.
And then
Scan.
what if you're the person in that crowd when a band member does that to you? You're like, what are you fucking looking at?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
"Oh, what's wrong?"
You're not meant to watch me. I'm watching you.
I feel like, you know, the band The Big Moon, Celia from that. I remember she looked at me when I was in the audience, and this was before we went on tour with them or knew them at all. And she smiled at me, and I'll never forget it.
You never shout about it.
You don't. You don't forget those
She
things.
saw me.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's also, maybe I should try to see people too. I don't know.
Yeah,
Balance.
my friend from school she saw Bruno Mars like when we were 15 or something, and she came back and she said that Bruno Mars looked at her and smiled. And I thought, he probably didn't though, he probably just making it up. But then I sometimes think about it on stage, like he probably did look
Yeah, he
at
probably
her,
did.
and that's so cool.
I also have this problem where sometimes when I see my friends in the audience, I'll wink, and like I don't know why. It's just like and I was like, oh God, why do I do?
Because you know the person behind them thinks you're doing it at them.
Yeah, I'm like, why? Why do I do that?
I think that's okay.
No, I think it's good, but it's just like it doesn't.
Because you can wink good.
It feels like an out of body experience. I'm like, that's not me.
Thinking about being a band that, you know, is touring around in vans and maybe cars sometimes, things I imagine go wrong. What has been the biggest thing that went wrong for Prima Queen that you really had to think on your feet and find a quick solution for?
We were talking about this.
Yeah, I don't know if it answers the question completely, but it.
So I heard that we just played a gig at an independent venue, the
We were
Amateur
starting,
Arms.
right when we were starting out,
And
very long time ago.
we thought we were getting paid tuppence, but we thought we were getting paid
But money.
pounds. And then
Cash.
I caught wind that someone said, "Oh yeah, you'll get your beer in a minute," and I thought, "Hang on a second."
This was the band, the headline band. We were supporting them.
And we didn't have a manager at that time. It was just us. And at that moment, it was just me. And I thought I need to talk to Kristin. Where's Kristin? Because we need the money to get home.
To get home. And yeah. And then I was standing with with their manager, just like having a little chat. And Louise comes over kind of like in a huff and she's like, sorry to interrupt, guys, but the band's trying to pay us in beer and like it's totally unacceptable. And like, what do you want me to say? And do you want to come over with me? And then I was like, Louise, this is this manager. And he's like, what's going on? Oh no, like we'll sort that out. Like we'll pay you in cash. And it was just really funny because it was perfect.
And we got our £30 or something.
We got our 30
I think we got the beer too.
Yeah.
Funny and awkward.
So funny and awkward, but
Yeah.
got the job done, you know?
I feel like if you can just power through the awkwardness and and be unfazed by it.
Yeah.
That's got to be the best way.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out. It was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
You saw how we really felt, and yeah.
That 30 quid's worth it.
Yeah.
It was the meaning of it. It was the meaning of the 30 quid.
I mean, I think it probably was some misunderstanding, hopefully, but it
I don't
wasn't
know.
it wasn't above board.
Yeah.
You'll
trying
never
to
get
pay-
ripped off again.
To
Well, I
pay
don't
two
know
young
about
girls
that.
and beer.
But we will try and prevent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Kristin, Louise. Nice one.
Thank
For having
you.
us.
So there was Kristin and Louise from Prima Queen. They're playing in Birmingham at the Sunflower Lounge on the 31st of January. And here's my chat with Angus from Opus Kink, who are playing in Manchester at the Night and Day Cafe on Tuesday the 28th.
Our first gig was at Sticky Mike's in Brighton.
Sticky Mike's Frog Bar.
I think we played for an hour and a half. It was awful. But they let us do that. And, Base Camp in Middlesbrough. I've been thinking about that place again. It was an amazing venue. It was our first ever tour, playing to 20 people at a time.
Yeah.
Which is great fun. And I think people should always do that. And maybe continue to do that, go and play in places you might not often. But Base Camp we just rocked up and it kind of looks like a school or it's got like a Silent Hill style dungeon underneath it with some weird little rooms.
Right.
And we met Jordan from Avalanche Party, who was kind of running the show or was booking for them. He's a cheeky man. And I just remember it being like, it was very cowboy, but in a way that really suited us. Mm-hmm. And from them that night we met this group of mental like Teesside fucking pirates who were starting this thing called Press on Vinyl. Don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
And it was in its embryonic stage. They invited us back to this kind of half-empty warehouse, and we kind of horsed into the supply and had a night to remember. And then now they've pressed our vinyls. They pressed like Sam's solo vinyls. I just this one night met out the back of a strange little block in Middlesbrough where we'd never been before. And we've kind of got, crew for life there now.
That's a great story. You were playing this venue, you met this ragtag crew of people that now you work together.
Work together, we're friends with them, I get calls from some of these people at Christmas, We're always welcome there, and an independent venue, the people that you meet there can lead on to someone who you can call on at 2 a.m. to crash on their couch. Might not be as magical for them, but
You seem like quite a chaotic crew in Opus Kink.
Yeah, I think by the nature of it, we are.
And it makes sense that one of your earlier shows was playing for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because no one told you to stop.
Yeah, I think that's just how long we thought gigs were. I think or a headline gig anyway.
But where else can you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
you can't do that in spoons.
But you can't do that in anywhere that's not really run by people who are up for letting it go loose for a night. Or
and people who are like also a bit clueless, like in the best way possible.
Yeah,
like you don't want to be a professional at everything.
How about other kind of promoters or other bands that you've met in those kind of independent venue environments that have become like inspirations, sources of inspiration, and contacts and people who make you think, what we're doing is right. Let's keep on going down this road.
Kind of everyone that we work with, everyone that we've continued to work with. Like early example being with Keg, great band who we met in Brighton, and we'd play in houses and in basements, and and still meet up with some of the members of that band, and we'll turn on some horrible drum machine and do something like that. And that's the language that I like, is this kind of fundamentally unserious and therefore very serious approach to collaboration But every band that we're friends with or that we've worked with, we've met through some kind of unholy coupling in a basement somewhere. I can't even remember where and how we met so many of these people, but the continued relationship has been because of, it's been a little festering situation that's happened away from, the daylight.
What does a day look like for you in Opus Kink? Are you waking up? Are you thinking, okay, what do we want to do? Like, where's our dream scenario, and work towards that? Is it like that, or is it
in
more...
the past year? It's been waking up and getting your head down. You always have your own avenues, to stop waiting for people to give you a golden ticket. And we just get our heads down. Sam and I, the bass player, we go down to, he's got a studio in his bedroom in Brighton, in this little annex that he lives in, and we go and write some of the album, and then the others will be tinkering in their rooms, and it's like facing it as a job in a very fun way, like making it your job, willing that into existence, whether you're being paid anything or not. Kind of feels good because it feels so shit as well. You feel like it's that pirate crew cowboy thing, kind of doing this for beans and peanuts. I'm feeling full from those beans and peanuts. Well, I want some fucking money, but at the same time, I don't think I'd change anything that's led me to live in this world of kind of self-sufficiency. Up until now, again, would like a hand. But this world of self-sufficiency and experimentation and not worrying too much about the beast outside of it, it's a blessed thing. I love it.
And when people talk about independent venues, and there's always going to be a discourse of someone posting an Oasis tour poster or like a Pulp tour poster, and that's great. I would have loved to have seen the Gallagher brothers down at the Frog and Fiddle or wherever, but the end goal isn't, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the end goal is it's those independent venues. They're not a launching pad, or they're not a stepping stone. No, they are the end goal for so many people. Yeah, they can't be seen as that. I don't think everything being seen as a stepping stone to an arena tour or a Grammy or whatever. This ecosystem is in and of itself. Yeah. And that could be the best Friday night of your life. Usually is, yeah. Going down the local venue. Where you're going to see, if not your favourite band, a band that's going to shock you or make you question something or make you jealous or any of the above. I think we've just learned to look at the next thing, which is whatever we're working on. We don't have a 5-year plan or anything like that, but we currently don't have a label. We've been like teetering on the edge of so many things for so long, which teaches you to do it for the work and to do it for the pleasure, just pleasure seeking, basically, for the next, working hard, but pleasure seeking as the next port of call. Yeah. But I think the ambition is in the music and is in our commitment to growing as performers and artists above all else, which is a very lucky place to be, despite all the setbacks kind of financially and spiritually. It's a great place to be, to feel, if not sure of yourself, then sure of your ability to try anything. You back yourself. We back ourselves fully, and I think that translates to being backed by the people that we meet in these independent venues and the people that we work with through that, and the community and the kind of the legion of freaks that we have now, which is brilliant. It seems to me like you revel in that attritional being. Yeah. Nothing's easy. Yeah. It shouldn't be easy. Things aren't easy, but also for us relatively, we're a largely middle class band. We are, we've had, a relatively easy time. And even still, the
the Sisyphean struggle of trying to get something off the ground really gets you down a lot of the time, or it can try and get you down. But then if you have something to turn to, which is this kind of stunning underworld, this kind of glittering high court of goblins that exists and must exist always, because people's ambitions might be to play, you know, what people would call the toilet venues, which are the most beautiful places on earth. You know, they might not have their head in the clouds and eyes on like a Nobel Prize like we do, but if that place exists, if the swamp must remain for people to sink back into, you know, that mud bath, that cleansing psychedelic situation that is a venue in a terraced house in Hull is amazing. You know.
What are the touchstones or the marks of your favorite type of independent venue?
Usually the first thing will be being greeted by a promoter or owner who's just a scary person. You usually know it's going to be quite good. Then, you know, the aforementioned venue, I can't remember the fella's name, which is bad, but the Adelphi in Hull, don't know if you've been there.
I haven't.
Great venue. It's just a house, but they've got all, you know, everybody's played there over the years. They got Marky Smith's head in a jar in there, and we were put on there by Twisted Nipple Events, and these guys, Jack and Lucia, they kind of look like undead Jack Sparrow and his vampire bride. And they just put us on by the skin of their teeth and given us what they could. And we were playing with these other bands who've got songs called like Piss Chisel. And the place is just falling apart around you, but it's the best thing that you've ever done. And the crowd, there's like lifers with a couple of teeth left who have been, you know, pogoing since 76.
Yeah.
And it's fucking brilliant.
That's the dream.
So that's quite a good blueprint.
Yeah.
Just characters, it's people. The venues are people. The spaces are wonderful, but it could be a broom cupboard, and if it's run by the right person, then it's going to be a great time.
I bet you've had some great conversations, you know, just people that you can go up to at the bar or wherever, introduce yourself, and then in 10 minutes you've heard some tall tales.
Yeah, and then another 10 minutes and you just want to get the fuck out of there. Doses, enough doses. But then we see these people all over the country, all over the continent sometimes. People
you see them again?
You see them again, yeah. They'll come to different shows. They'll come to festivals in the Netherlands or France or whatever. And it is mad. You know.
Hey, thanks for this, Angus.
My pleasure.
Just to end with, you know, I'm a big fan of fuck ups and general sort of plan not going to it.
Yeah.
I suppose that I feel like that must happen with all bands who are sort of looking after your own wares. Are there any stories from Opus Kink's history where you look back and you think, how did we get through that?
Just every show, there's we are the problem. I think, honestly, but there's so many, but like usually just injuries and things like that. I'm like, we were playing at Yellow Arch in Sheffield. It was a great venue. The drum kit kept pushing forward, like the kick drum kept pushing forward. So we put some bricks up there to stop it. And then during the show, I stood on the bricks, which crumbled, and then I fell on top of the one of the cymbals and broke my rib. It was like day 2 of the tour. And on the same tour, Jazz broke his rib in Southampton.
A lot of injuries.
A lot of injuries, yeah. I mean, it's Southampton. I ruptured my spleen as well. This year in Brighton, we were playing. Well, we weren't playing the Great Escape, but we were playing during the Great Escape, and we played at the Rossi Bar, which is a tiny venue. It's a 60, 70 cap, and I think by the time we went on, we were meant to go on at 1 a.m. We went on at 1:45 or something like that, and there were kind of 170 people in there. But just that, I love that attitude.
Yeah,
of like, we're gonna make something happen.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be Carnegie Hall, baby, but we're gonna make something happen. Yeah.
If you could reflect on one time
like this, that's just like completely positive. Like something is just like imbibed with like good feeling in your history as a band?
I think just every time that something's gone wrong, and I think I remember this happening at base camp in Middlesbrough. Like 3 things broke at the same time, and this place where the bar staff are the sound engineers who are in the bands, who are also that, you know, everyone's doing the same job, just kind of surged towards us, and it was all hands on deck, and people fixed things straight away. And there's just this warm feeling of like you don't know these people yet, and you haven't really earned their charity. You know, and they're not being paid. You're not being paid millions for what they're doing, and they love it so much, and they want to help you so much that there's, you know, it's kind of no question that they would run on and do anything that they can.
It must be amazing to be in those scenarios so often where you're surrounded by people who are just completely dedicated to being there in that moment.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be doing it without those people. And we wouldn't have these stories that you want from people on this podcast, and the stories that people want in rock and roll aren't going to come from some clinical dystopian future. You know, not that the present isn't dystopian, but these venues and the people and the goblins that run them and raise you up, literally and figuratively, are the blood.
You're playing a date on this independent venue week.
Yeah.
The Beavertown is kindly supporting, collaborating with.
We're playing Night and Day in Manchester on the 28th, which we haven't been to Manchester in a long time. It's always great. I've never played Night and Day. I don't think we were kicked out of there from drinking, but it was politely insinuated that we should leave. I can't remember why now, but we're going to come back with our Tudor caps in hand and make it right. I just get a buzz every time that we're going to go somewhere, a new independent venue that we haven't played yet, because who's going to be running it? What kind of kindnesses can we expect, or what slights can we laugh at in the future?
Brilliant.
God bless.
Opus Kink and Prima Queen before then. 2 bands playing the independent venue week in collaboration with Beavertown tour. That's next week. Head to beavertownbrewery.co.uk, pick up your tickets, get involved, and we'll see you down the front.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.